Hi, I'm Minister Beatrice. Welcome to Best Life Wellness, Wellness God's Way. Today's topic is how to benefit from a plant based diet. And today's scripture is Ezekiel 47:12. Their fruit will serve for food and their leaves for healing. And this scripture talks about the fruits and vegetables God created to help us to maintain our life and to maintain our health. Today's guest is Dr. Ruby Lathon, a holistic nutritionist who changed her life and also healed herself of thyroid cancer by using food, God's food. For cancer by using food, God's food. So I'll be right back. Enjoy my intro, and this is the time for you to share this with your family and friends. You don't want to miss this. Welcome back. So before I bring on Dr. Lathon, let me share a little bit of her bio. Dr. Ruby Lathon is an engineer turned holistic nutritionist after healing herself of thyroid cancer by drastically changing her lifestyle through a plant based diet. Dr. Lathon was featured in the hit documentary What the Health and the newly released documentary They're Trying to Kill Us. Dr. Lathon now teaches others how to re engineer their health and live disease free. So help me welcome Dr. Ruby Lathon. Hello, Dr. Lathon. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Glad
I'm
to be
so
here.
honored. I'm so honored to have you with me. And I have notes here, so if you see me looking down, I'm trying to make sure I don't miss anything. I have so
No
many questions
problem. No
to ask you.
problem at all.
So many questions. So I'm going to start with how I met you.
Okay.
So we crossed paths at a holistic, or it wasn't holistic, it was a wellness seminar in
hmm
DC on March the 18th. And so there we had a speaker. It was Minister of Wellness, Nathaniel Jordan. And he was talking about, walking in divine health and using a plant-based diet to do that. And I was blown away about your testimony when I heard your testimony on how you heal yourself with thyroid cancer. And I've seen some internet posts of people healing themselves naturally, but I never heard a person actually talk about the path they took and how they healed themselves. So I was thinking, I'm going to pray that she join me on my YouTube channel. So here
Yeah.
you go. And I'm very, very grateful for you coming here and sharing your testimony with my audience. And I just know is going to be blessed. So,
Absolutely. I'm glad to join.
and also while I was there, I got an opportunity to taste some of your delicious plant-based food.
Yes. Yes.
So me and my husband, we had ordered the soul food platter that included
Right.
greens and mac and cheese and barbecue meatballs and cornbread, and then we took home the chicken salad for later.
Yes.
And it
Oh,
was delicious. It was delicious.
that's good. That's good to hear because healthy food can be delicious. And that's why I do what I do. And that's why I started preparing food because I want people to know that you don't have to give up flavor to be healthy. You can have both.
Yes, yes. So one thing my husband got out of the seminar,
hmm
because he's a meat eater, he loved his fried chicken and his ribs.
hmm
And the minister of wellness really was in his world when he was saying, "I'm not giving up my fried chicken," because my husband loved fried chicken. But it really touched him. And he came home, and for the first week after he got home, immediately he just went on a fruit fast. I mean, he
Mm,
went totally cold turkey. And now, after that week went by, now he's doing vegan, and he's feeling great. In fact, he lost 13 pounds. So,
that's
and he's
awesome.
feeling good. So I got to make sure I cook some delicious food to keep him interested.
Yes.
So I have a few questions. So I watched the documentary What the Health before I met you. And so I went back and watched it again because I found out you were on it. So
Yes.
I want to hear your testimony on from that documentary. Can you explain to people what that documentary is about? That one and the Game Changer. What is that documentary
Yeah.
about?
Yes. So, what the health is? It's obviously a health documentary, but it's really about the relationship between our government entities, food systems, pharmaceuticals, and as to why we don't have this information about how to prevent and reverse illnesses through food. And that is because of the economics that happen, that those organizations are making billions of, literally billions
Wow.
of dollars off of our illness. So instead of promoting plant-based foods and diets and healthy lifestyles, they
Uh-huh.
promote drugs and things that actually don't heal you, but actually just allow you to get sicker and sicker in a more expensive way. And
Right.
so it really delves into why that information is suppressed. So because you're like, well, if you can heal yourself of cancer with food, why isn't
Exactly.
everybody talking about it? Why don't
Right.
I know? This
Right.
answers why you don't know, and how orchestrated it is, because cancer and other illnesses like diabetes and heart disease are billion-dollar
Wow.
industries, and so it's not to their financial interest, and the government is in bed with those organizations as well, and so that is why we don't know. So it really delves into it, and also delves into examples of stories of people who have gone against the grain and used the
Right.
abundance of food and fruits and vegetables and herbs and things to heal themselves, from amazing things. So that's what it's about. And then the other film, you mentioned Game Changers, but I
Yes.
wasn't in that film, but that's a great film.
Right.
It focuses on athletes and how their performance is affected. And you might even notice now that a lot of NBA players are shifting to a plant-based diet because
Right.
of the competitive edge that they get from doing that. So the other film you might not have mentioned was They're Trying to Kill Us, and that's one that I
Yes. Yes.
that
Yes.
talks about the urban communities and how systematically uh, communities that are inhabited by Black people
Yes.
and those who are poor are systematically designed that way so that they don't have access to healthy foods. They create these food deserts where there is not a supermarket within walking distance or within a reasonable space, and
Right.
so that naturally leads to poorer health. And so it talks about that impact, and then how our communities are what we're doing to combat that. So it's really eye opening. Another really eye opening film too.
Right. And so I'm looking forward to seeing that. I try to find that online. I'm like, how can I watch They're Trying to Kill
Right,
Us?
right. Yeah, and I think so. It was out for a bit, but now they're working on it with a streaming service to get it out, like on
Okay.
Netflix or something like
That'd be
that.
nice.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so I always say, sign up for my newsletter on my website,
Okay.
because I let people know when things are out and what I'm doing and things that are upcoming. But when that comes out, I'll definitely be sending that note so
Awesome.
people can go to my website and sign up so they'll be notified.
Awesome. And so I'm a witness too, because I lived in the inner city and then moved to the suburbs. And I did not know while living in the inner city that it was a systematic setup for people of, low poverty, people of
Hmm.
color, to not have access to supermarkets and, um, markets where they can go and get fruits and vegetables,
Right.
and farmers markets. And
Hmm.
so I remember growing up and catching the SEPTA, the bus line there,
Hmm.
and public transportation to go to the market to get the food and have a shopping cart, and you dragging the food and you're carrying the food. And so in
Hmm.
between those times, we would use the corner store to get
Hmm.
odds and
Exactly.
ends, pay extra money. And those stores also sold things like hoagies. I'm from Philadelphia,
Hmm.
so in other states
Just
they
the
call it
garbage
stuff.
food. It's not. It's
Sweepstakes.
highly processed
Right. It's
garbage food that
outdated,
you have. It's
it's expired
old.
food, so it wasn't never good food. But we didn't
Yeah.
know, I didn't know that was the reason. But in walking distance was all the fast food restaurants
Hmm.
and the Chinese stores that was
Right.
selling food in the
Right. Which
community.
which is and that kind of goes against the reasoning and the logic that they say they don't put these grocery stores in these communities, because the economics isn't there. But
Right.
if McDonald's is there and the Asian stores are there and the fast food places, there is money there.
There is
You're
money.
choosing not to put it there because you don't want to spend our money on something that would help us to be well. You want us to
Right.
spend money on these places that if we eat at these fast food places, then we're going to be at the dialysis center, which is already
And it's
next
right
to.
there.
It's always in the poorer communities. You got
Right.
dialysis centers on every other corner, but you
Yes.
can't put health care or emergency care on those corners. You don't put health food stores there, but you put the kidney dialysis places, because if you
Yes.
continue to eat at these places that are next door, you're going to end up there and continue to make them billions of
Exactly.
dollars.
Exactly. And thank you for pointing that out because people don't know.
Hmm.
When you're in a city, you've grown up there, you have no idea. My daughter, who
Hmm.
worked in the public school system in Philadelphia, then worked in Montgomery County in the suburbs, she saw the
Hmm.
difference in what's being promoted at
Right.
the child level,
Hmm.
in the public
Hmm.
schools. It's snack time, and kids was whipping out Skittles and chips and Doritos. And then in the suburbs, it's snack time, and they were bringing out apple slices and carrots and celery with peanut butter. And if a child brought out something like a Pop Tart, the teacher would reprimand them, like, "Why are you having that unhealthy snack?" That was
Yeah.
never taught. We were never taught that. What's a healthy
Right.
snack? What's an unhealthy snack? So it's
Exactly.
good.
And meanwhile, we're like, giving kids hot Cheetos and Takis in their
Yes.
lunch as
Oh
if
my
that's
God.
like a nutritional thing,
The
because we
Lunchables.
don't know. Yeah.
The Lunchables. So that
Yeah.
yeah, that's very good information. So tell us where you're from and what was your diet like growing up? What was mealtime at your house?
Yeah. So I grew up in Alabama. So definitely used to good Southern home cooking. My mom and
Yes.
grandmother, aunts, all great, great cooks. But we happened to be vegetarians growing up. Um,
Wow.
So we ate quite a bit of dairy, though, in the place of the meat. So because anytime you go out and they're like, "There's no meat," they're going to give you something with cheese, because that's
Yeah. Oh
all they
my
can
goodness.
think
Yes.
of. So it's always cheese, 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 all the time. Um, so I mean, we had relatively healthy food, though, at dinner and lunch and things like that. But it was heavy on the milk and the dairy products and the
Right.
egg products and those kind of things. And I think it was kind of, we were kind of the oddballs as vegetarians in Alabama.
I'm
Um,
sure. Living
and
in the South.
sometimes, right, I always tell the story when sometimes it's embarrassing when my dad would take us to Burger King, and we didn't eat meat, so he would drive up and ask for six Whoppers, because it's four kids, six Whoppers with no meat. And so basically cheese sandwiches. And so they would
Oh
always
my
pause and
goodness.
say, "What?" And then we roll up to the window. They would all, not just the person who took the order, all of them would be like looking at
All
us
be
like,
looking at you. They
"What
want to
is
see this family.
who came to Burger King for
So
cheese?"
did they charge you the full price? I mean, you didn't have the
I
meat.
believe so. I think so. I think so. But anyway,
Oh my
that was us growing up. So, but at the same time, like I said, my mom was an excellent cook, so she made great, vegetarian dishes all the time.
Okay. And I know y'all was
Mhm.
going against the grain, living down south and being vegetarians.
Yeah, yeah,
But
with
they're known
all
for
the
that.
southern
Yeah,
food.
that's celebrating food.
Yeah. Mhm.
So tell me a little bit about your career and your education before you became a holistic nutritionist.
Yeah, so yeah, my education was in computer science, my undergraduate degree, and then I went to graduate school at University of
Wow.
Alabama, where I did a master's in industrial and systems engineering, and then a PhD in that as well.
Wow.
And so I kind of, in the PhD, would focus on uh, reliability analysis and all that kind of thing. So from there, my first full time job. Um, while I was in school, I was fortunate that I got to work at NASA. So I was actually a
Oh
literal
wow.
rocket scientist for a while.
So you
So I
was
did
an
my,
actual rocket scientist.
yes, because I was doing my research for my dissertation on solenoid valves, which is part of the rocket system and all of
Okay.
that. So I worked there, some really great people. And then after I graduated, I moved to New Mexico and started working at a defense laboratory there in New
Hmm.
Mexico.
Wow.
And so I was optimizing weapon systems on how
Wow.
to get parts that were part of weapon systems, to places cheaper, faster, better, more efficient,
Wow.
um, was what I was doing. And it wasn't, I never really liked the idea of being a part of war. And I
Right.
really didn't see it that way until one day I did talk to someone who was like on the ground in Afghanistan, and they were really literally asking me about the algorithms and things we're using for the parts. And it just kind of made it very
Oh,
real
wow.
that I
Yes.
was actually assisting in this
Yes. Yes.
process. And
Yes.
I didn't want to be a part of it because I don't believe in war. I
Right.
think you can find better ways to interact with the world than killing people. And
Yes.
so as part of my story, eventually got out of that. But that was my first career before becoming a holistic nutritionist.
Wow. I mean, that's exciting. I mean, the career path and how long you went to school. How long did it take you to go all the way?
Probably about 10 years, 10 years. So
Yeah,
it's like
that's a
four
lot of school.
undergrad, two masters,
Right.
four PhD,
And
three or
then you
four.
get there, we're like, I don't think I want to do this.
Oh, I don't want to do this anymore.
Right. Right.
The good thing about it though is I enjoy school. So I wasn't
Yeah,
doing it like, oh, I've got to do the school so I can make money.
right.
I just like being in school and learning. And that's really important that we learn how to enjoy the process because the
Yes.
process ends up being your life.
Yes.
So, you have to enjoy where you are. So I didn't feel like now that I wasted 10 years of my life because I
Oh
had a good
no.
time in
Right.
college. And I had a good time in graduate school,
Yes.
and you never lose education.
Exactly.
What it did was it taught me how to think in a very logical, systematic way and how to
Yes.
think problems through from beginning to end without leaving any loopholes in there. So I didn't
Right.
lose anything. What I did, I just become a better at my next career because of the mental training of the first career.
Yes. And that path was God's path.
Mhm.
Sometimes we go on a path and then we're like, why did I go here? And then you realize that you can
Right.
use those experiences because in school you do get a lot of experiences.
You
You meet
do.
a lot of people, you learn a lot. Because I went all the way to my MBA,
Hmm.
and I learned so much in the research, making business plans and things like that. And I really
Hmm.
enjoyed it. I missed it when I left, but I decided not to go back because there's a lot to do once you
Hmm.
get married and have children.
Right.
It's hard to do that.
Hmm.
So, what is a holistic nutritionist? Can you explain that?
Yeah, absolutely. So with holistic nutrition, we're looking at more than just the food component. We're looking at everything that affects your overall health.
Yes.
So that's going to be, how much sleep you get, attitudes, your relationships. Are they healthy? Are they, supporting you in a way? Because most illnesses derive from emotional stress and trauma
Right.
prolonged.
Right.
And so we often need to deal with that in order to get the maximum benefit from the food and things like that. So we're looking at how can we improve overall health from all aspects, mental, emotional, physical with the food, supplementation, and things like that. So it's looking at the entire picture
Right. The
holistic.
whole picture.
Hmm.
Okay. So now that you're a nutrition policy manager at the Physician Committee of Responsible Medicine, that's a long title.
Yeah, that was a
What's
big
the
jump.
role? Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a big jump. I mean, that's totally opposite. So
Yeah, yeah,
what's the
from
role?
engineer, reliability engineer to a nutrition policy manager.
Right.
Yeah, when one of the blessings, if you will, in cancer is that it focuses you on what's important
Yes.
because you're kind of faced with death. And so it's like, okay, how am I living my life? And the thing is, well, I appreciated my job and the people and the opportunities I got and aspects of it, travel. The best part about the job was helping people when I solved their problem, when I would, create the
Yes.
algorithms or whatever to help.
Mhm.
But the actual work wasn't, satisfying. So I decided I wasn't going to go back to defense because I just couldn't do it. My spirit was like, no, it's not worth it,
Right.
because I was in school. I'm like, I'm going for the highest paying job.
Yes.
Making 6 figures. And I was happy with that.
Yes.
But I was like, I can't go against my spirit
Right.
So I said, I'm going to find something else that I would do for free if I could. I
Yes.
wanted my work to be part of something that's enjoyable. And so for me, and satisfying at a spiritual level. And so I'm working with some folks who help you make these big career transitions. And
Mhm.
was researching certain types of jobs, and I found this one at Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, which is a
Wow.
nonprofit that promotes plant-based diets as a way to prevent and avoid and reverse diseases. And I was like, well, this is what I would do for free. This
That's
is
what you did.
exactly what I
Oh,
just did. I just reversed
right.
the disease using this plant-based
Plant-based
approach.
diet.
So,
So you have
so
experience through your life.
I had personal
Oh,
experience, and I was like, I don't know how I can say I'm
wow.
qualified for this, but when I start looking at it, I wrote this incredible,
Wow.
introductory level letter about my
Mm.
experience, my personal experience, and bulleted like, here's how this experience relates to that. Anyway, long story short, I got the job, and I felt, because I had been studying for
Wow.
over a year on nutrition and health,
Right.
and was my own test subject. So, and it worked for me.
And it worked for you. It's helped you to get this job. That's
Mhm.
another path that you took that got you where you're at. You never think like all that schooling, then your sickness will take you down this road to this job. How
Exactly.
how how does this organization help the physicians? Do they do they go into the office and tell them about the plant based? Do the doctors come to them to ask them? Do they have seminars at
Mhm.
doctors conventions? How does this
Sure.
organization?
So the physicians committee does a lot with physicians. Number one, they train them. They have continuing education courses
Okay,
on plant-based nutrition, the latest in the research. So they really train not just doctors, but all types of healthcare practitioners. So they're up
okay,
on the latest research, scientifically backed research on diet and health, so that they are more qualified to teach their patients and give them, you know, alternatives to medications. So they have a number, definitely annual seminars and
hmm,
conferences for healthcare professionals. So really
okay,
educating and supporting them with that kind of information. And then a lot of physicians who are members, agree with this type of lifestyle and a plant-based diet as well. Also do a lot of support for alternatives to, animal testing, for example, more
okay.
accurate testing and things like that.
So, are there physicians available for people who want a physician that promote plant-based dieting or agree with it? Don't
Yeah, there is. So, first, the Physicians Committee has their own clinic, the Barnard Medical Center, so that
Oh,
our
okay. And that's in
the
DC?
physicians there are plant based, the dietitians are plant based, so they follow that approach. But there's also online programs where I think is plant based MD or plant based doctors.org,
Okay.
where you can put in your city and search for physicians or other healthcare practitioners who follow plant based diet and
Okay.
system.
That's good to know. I definitely will look that up for myself.
Yeah.
So I'm impressed. I learned that you lived in New Mexico for 10 years.
Hmm.
And tell me a little bit about that. And then I think that's where you discovered or got the
Yeah.
diagnosis of thyroid cancer.
Right.
About
Yeah.
that. And go
So
into your testimony.
Albuquerque. Yeah. So after grad school, I moved to Albuquerque because I wanted to explore the Southwest. And
Okay.
Albuquerque, I'm big on scenery. I have to have scenery. Like, I'm looking right out the window now. There's water. It's beautiful. I love scenery. And so New Mexico has the most beautiful mountains, the
Wow.
Sandia Mountains around. They're just gorgeous. And I had visited there before, so I was like, this looks like a postcard. I could live here. I
Right.
like being outdoors.
Can
There's a
you
lot of
imagine?
outdoor activities, hiking, whitewater rafting, just being outside,
Yes.
the foothills. So yeah, I loved New Mexico. It's a very laid back, relaxing environment there. And that's where I was working at the labs. And that is where I got the diagnosis. At the time, I had left the labs to do what we call technology transfer, where they had
Hmm.
like an entrepreneurial program for people who were working on technology at the labs to then transfer it to the main community and start their own business. So that's what I had done
Okay.
with some partners from graduate school. And so I was working for myself with them, but I was working a lot all the time, around the clock,
Okay.
traveling a lot. I like the travel and things like that, but it was a lot. But it still wasn't at the time. I was still working in defense and I wasn't excited about it. I really was looking for a way out of that career, but I
Right.
just didn't think I could just exit engineering. I was like, people are
Right.
going to think
Right.
I'm nuts, but I just don't want to do this really anymore. And when I got the diagnosis, it was like December 2007. And I I was really shocked because I totally did not expect that. I was like, that when I took the test, I even forgot about it the next day because I was like, I'm sure there's no cancer. And
Right.
I was like, that's ridiculous. So when I got the diagnosis, I was stunned. I was, a little caught off guard, by it.
Right.
And so,
I can imagine.
yeah. And I asked the doctor because I got the information on the phone, and he was saying, well, here's what we're going to do, this and this, you're going to schedule your surgery for this and we're going to do that. And I was like, wait a minute, hold up, stop the
Right.
press.
Right.
I'm digesting this information and you've already planned out the next 3 months of my life.
Right.
And
Right.
that's going to be a no for me. And I immediately asked him, I was like, so what about alternative approaches? Are there other approaches and natural methods? Like, no, I've never heard anybody heal the thyroid cancer naturally, and
Right.
pretty dismissive about it. But he's like, but, you can try it for a couple of months and then come back for the surgery. You know,
So he just was a doomsday doctor. I
yeah,
mean,
he was like, you can try
he
what you
just
want and come
assumed,
back and we'll just schedule it for 3 months out. So,
right, we're gonna still get that money for the surgery.
right. So
We're
it's
gonna
like
take
it's
it
not gonna work. Basically,
and the
it's not gonna
drugs.
work. So do what you will and then come back. So I
Uh,
kind of when he said no one's ever been cured naturally, I in my mind and my gut said I guess I'll be the first. I didn't say it out loud, but I said it to myself.
right, exactly.
And I was like, because I had heard of other people being healed of cancer naturally,
Yes,
and I was like, other people have done it. I can do it too.
right.
So
So
that
that was
was
a bold step of faith. Um, the doctors usually tell us what to do. We usually follow their instructions because we thinking they know better than we do. They went to school for this. And so
hmm
that was a bold step. How did your family and friends respond to you first
hmm
having cancer, and then secondly, telling them I'm not going the traditional route for treatment?
right. So yeah, so my family took it hard because cancer. Everybody thinks you're gonna die, so which is understandable because some people do. And so I remember we cried, and then they were really
Right.
crying, and I was like, "Wait a minute, I'm not dead. I'm not dying." I was like,
Yeah,
"This is it. I'm gonna be okay.
right,
Relax." I was like, "I'm going to be okay." And when
right,
I, started the research and realized I was just gonna do the natural approach, they were supportive, because they just know I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And so they didn't discourage me. They just,
right.
prayed and were like, okay. And were very supportive. No, they were only ones who were supportive. The friends are like, you need to go have the surgery. It's a simple surgery. Just go do
Right,
it. It's
right.
not a big deal. Da, da, da. And yeah, and some were like, you're being irresponsible. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, I think I know what's best I care more for me than anybody does.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna go with my gut on this one.
Right. So would you agree a plant-based diet is the only diet that can cure you of cancer?
I
That
don't
can
think it's.
not only cure cancer, because sometimes maybe a plant-based diet may not work for all cancers,
Mhm.
but reverse diseases.
Yeah, I would say it's one of the most effective. I won't say it's the only diet because other people have healed doing other things.
Right.
But it is one of the most consistent diets that has been proven over and over to help reverse and prevent disease. So if I were going to gamble on something, then I'm going to go with
Right,
the one
right,
that's scientifically backed and has been repeated more than once, multiple
right,
times with research to back it up. So it is one of the most effective, and it makes the most sense for
right.
sure,
It does.
for preventing and often reversing. I'm not going to say it does everything, because there's some people who it doesn't, but a lot of times there are other things going on. There are other factors at play. There's other emotional issues that haven't been addressed.
Right.
But if you're looking for a starting point, the diet and going plant based is definitely the most effective for
Yes.
preventive, and very effective for recovery as well.
And I agree with the preventive part because I'm a testimony of that. My
Hmm.
mom suffered from, diseases like diabetes, and all my siblings, my mom, I'm one of eight, all of them are on medication. I have one sister that passed from breast cancer, and I'm the
Hmm.
only one doing a plant-based diet on no medication.
Mm.
And, and the
That
one
kind
time
of
the doctor
speaks for
tried
itself.
to give me, and I'm 61. I'm 61 years
Mhm.
old. Just turned 61 this
Yeah,
year.
you look great.
So, I mean, with the energy I have, people always saying, slow down, slow down. And so I agree with the plant-based diet as prevention in diseases because, like you said, it's have a proven track record, a proven
Hmm.
track record. So, people need to give it a try. It's hard to
Definitely.
tell people what to eat, what not to eat when they're addicted.
Right. Right. So yeah, you kind of the best way I think is just being an example, because there are people
Mm,
always, what are you doing, when they see how healthy and well
yes,
you are, then they'll eventually come to you. What you don't want to do is when
right.
people are eating, bring up, you should not be eating that. That's like the worst time to
Oh my
bring up
goodness.
what you
Let
shouldn't
me
eat,
tell you.
is as it's going to their mouth. Don't make people feel
Right.
good. But
I'm the
when they see you doing well, they're eventually going to be like, well, what are
yeah.
you doing? What do you
What are you
think?
doing? They do
And
ask.
that's your opportunity.
And
Yeah.
I am the food police in the supermarket. I just
Well,
look
that
at
is a
people
good time,
shopping.
because you can stop people from buying it. That's
I
the
don't stop them. I just look at people's shopping cart and be like, "Oh my God, look at all those cases of
I look at that
soda
too.
and the
I've
chips."
never seen anything, but sometimes I look and I'm like, all the meat
I'm
and the
shaking my
dairy
head.
and the
The,
sugar.
the kids are throwing in cookies and chips, and I'm just like, "Oh my goodness, those poor people." And you know,
Mhm.
they can't help it. They created the food now today to make you addicted.
Be addictive, yeah. And they miseducated us on what food is and what
Right.
healthy food is. So people are just going with what they've been taught
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
and what's being promoted. Yeah.
Exactly. So, what's the best way to transition from eating meat to a plant-based diet? Go to cold turkey like my husband did. you
Hmm.
know.
It really depends on you and your personality type. So
Mhm.
some people are great with cold turkey. So if you can do cold turkey, that's going to be the most effective. You're going to feel the results the quickest. You're going to
Right.
get, it's great. Let's just stop this, give away the stuff or throw it away, the stuff
Right.
in your freezer or fridge that's animal based. Other people like to kind of ease into it. Um, and start with like meatless days, meatless meals. We all know about meatless Monday,
Oh,
things
right.
like that.
Right.
Or start, okay, I'm just going to eat meat 3 times a week, not every meal, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
So you can ease your way out of it as long as you don't stop there, as long as you still go all the way and, let it
exactly.
all go. Um,
Exactly.
so the benefit of cold turkey is after about 30 days, you kind of lose the taste for all the other stuff because you stopped it, and you
Oh,
you kind
right.
of break the physical addiction to the dairy and the cheese and all that, because that has things that keep you addicted. So when you stop it, then you kind of make the transition a little easier. When you're
Right.
having a little bit over time, you kind of still are like kind of feeding the monster a little bit. So it can kind of make it a little harder
Right.
to let it go. So there are benefits to each. The benefit to easing into it is you have time to try other recipes, so you know what you're going to eat, and you're not like, oh, okay, now I don't know what to eat. What are we going to do?
Right.
So
Right. Right.
that's the biggest pitfall
Oh,
for
right.
people who do cold turkey, is if they haven't had a plan or know what plant-based meals there are, then they just kind of fall off the wagon after a week or two because they don't know what to eat.
Right. Because they don't have a plan. And
Yeah.
one of the things that help people to transition is all the substitute meats they have, Beyond
Yeah.
Meat and Impossible Burger. I
Yeah.
mean, that stuff is very tasty. I mean, a
It
long
is.
time ago, if you were going to become a vegetarian and you tried the substitute meats, it was disgusting.
All you
But
had
now,
was tofu.
yeah, all the
And
tofu,
some really nasty
right?
burgers that were like nowhere near burgers.
It was
Yeah, now
nowhere near.
and we want to see these meat substitutes as transitional foods or
Yeah.
splurge foods. They are not everyday foods, but they're great if you've been used to eating sausage for breakfast every day. Yes,
Right.
go ahead and switch out for that plant-based sausage until you're used to that, and then we want to get to more natural. Let's start eating smoothies and
Right.
oats and things like that for breakfast instead of processed food. But it's great to make the transition to just substitute a one-to-one something.
Right. Right. A lot of people, when you say plant based, they think I got to eat tofu. Like that's part of the plant based. If you're
Yeah, you
not,
don't have to have tofu. And the thing is,
you're not vegan unless you eat tofu.
it's not a requirement for
And,
membership.
yeah. Oh,
And a lot
yeah.
of people, it seems like everybody's had nasty tofu, and
Oh
that
my
may have
goodness.
happened, but you have to just know how to season it. I mean, tofu can go from chocolate pudding to, chicken salad because it has
Right.
no flavor really. So it's what you put into it. So it has to be well seasoned. It's no salt and pepper on it and
Hmm.
grill it. You got to do way more than that to make it taste good. So
Right.
you have to learn a bit how to prepare tofu, and it can be very good, but you don't have to.
You have to learn how to use it. Is that what you had in your chicken salad? Was that tofu?
There was not tofu. That was
What was it?
I believe that was soy protein. Yeah.
Oh, soy protein. Okay. Well, I need to find out so I can so I can make it.
Get the recipe. Yeah.
Get the recipe. That was delicious.
Yeah.
Can you
Thank you.
explain why dairy isn't good for us?
Yeah, great question. So first, it's just not normal or natural for us because the milk that we were designed to consume comes from our mother, another
Yeah.
human,
Hmm.
and it's perfectly designed for humans. So, and the right protein and all that stuff. Cow's milk is for baby cows. We would think it was
Right.
really weird if we gave human breast milk to the dogs, right? Or
Right.
to
Right. Right.
the cat. It would be like people would look
Exactly.
at us like, "Are you crazy? That's so gross." But we're drinking the
Right.
milk of another species that's
Yeah.
designed for the baby cow to gain several hundred pounds within 6 months. Okay, so
Right.
this is a milk that has enough protein, fat, and growth hormones to
Wow.
grow a baby cow several hundred pounds in a few months.
Wow.
So does that sound like it's designed for people?
Exactly.
It's,
And, we're the
it's
only species that's going to another animal and drinking their milk.
and the only species that drinks
Right.
milk after weaning. So it
Oh my
makes
goodness.
zero sense.
Yes.
Adult cows don't drink milk. So it's
Right.
like, so why would adult humans drink cow's milk? And
Oh
then
my
so
goodness.
so there's growth hormone. So when we consume that hormone full fluid, because it's got
Yes.
tons of estrogen, it's got tons of growth hormone, naturally occurring growth hormones. And
Right.
then if they've added growth hormones to make the cow grow faster, that's in there too. There's plenty of antibiotics in there to keep
Hmm.
the cow alive. And so you're
Right.
consuming this hormonal fluid that in us causes
Wow.
inflammation, mucus, um, all kinds of allergies and things like that. And most adults can't fully digest milk because lose the digestive enzymes to
Right.
digest lactose, right? So we say we're lactose intolerant.
Yes.
Yes, because we're not cows. Of course, we're
Right.
cow milk intolerant, just as you
Right.
would be camel milk intolerant. It is not for you. It never has
Right.
been. So it's a
Right.
little bit, it's lunacy, really,
It
why we
really
do
is.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. After I breastfed my daughter, um, I put her on regular Similac milk because that's what they tell us to do. And she used to throw up the whole bottle. They said, well, she's allergic to cow's milk. So they
Good.
put her on soy. And she did good on the soy milk. But it really
Mhm.
wasn't meant for her. She was not liking that
Yeah,
at all.
and it's
Her
good that
body
her
rejected
body
it.
rejected it as
Right.
most of us do, but we kind of accept the belching and the indigestion and all that and
Right,
kind
right,
of
right.
like, "I'm gonna eat my ice cream."
Right. So with the ice cream, the cheese, all that is dairy. Oh my goodness.
And the thing is, there are delicious substitutes for all of those things that actually
Right.
taste better in a lot of cases.
So will you say that dairy with the cheese and other things like the
Mhm,
dairy with the hormones
mhm,
and all that
right.
has butter, cheese, ice cream,
You know,
is that
yeah.
contributing to childhood obesity?
Absolutely, it is contributing to
because of the
that
growth hormones. The girls are
because of
developing.
the growth hormones and just the excess estrogen.
Right.
That's why kids are hitting puberty way earlier than they should. At
Mhm.
10, 9, 10, 11 years old. It's way too early. And when you hit puberty early, it sets you up for things like cervical cancer and things like that. It raises your risk of that the
Right.
longer you menstruate earlier. So yes, that's definitely why we're seeing little kids with little mustaches and
Exactly. The
breast
little
and things
girls
way,
developing.
way too early because of the
Right.
hormones that they're consuming in the dairy products and the meat. But we tend to force milk on kids so much more, so they're really getting that. And then cheese is just like concentrated milk, so you're
Right.
getting it there too.
And it's so addictive, the cheese. That was the hardest thing. I said I'm gonna be vegetarian because I couldn't give up the cheese.
Right, and a lot of people do that, and that was the hardest part for me too. But the
Yeah.
issue with cheeses is that it activates the same part of the brain that heroin does. So
Wow.
gives you an opiate-like effect. So you are
Oh my
literally
goodness.
addicted to the cheese, and so it's designed that way for the baby cow to connect with the mother, and so that it'll keep feeding and have that
Wow.
oxytocin connection so that it survives. And the same with mother's milk. It gives you that same oxytocin so that you're connected and so that it
Right.
forwards the species. So when we eat the cheese, there's no
That's crazy.
mother. We're just addicted to the cheese. So now,
Right.
then that's why cutting it off altogether for like 30 days helps break the addiction.
Right. I've seen people give their children just macaroni and cheese. That's their whole dinner. No vegetables, just a plate of macaroni and cheese. They're happy. The child is happy.
Yeah, and
That's
the
something
child's
else.
not going to be happy when they can't go to the bathroom regularly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, like I do Thanksgiving dinner. I've been hosting Thanksgiving dinner for my family for
Mhm.
like 20 years. And even when I became vegan, I would have vegan options. And I would
Mhm.
give myself a pass on Thanksgiving. Like today, I'm just going to eat a little bit of this.
Mhm.
Just give myself a pass. And I wouldn't go to
Right.
the bathroom for like 3 days.
Yeah. Right. Right. Because all the
But
fiber is in plant food.
like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness. But even when I had my vegan options, people
Mhm.
would come over and they would eat my vegan options. I'm like, you have your turkey and your stuff over here.
That
This is not
happens
good.
all the time. Every time we've done that, we've
Right.
taken our own food to a dinner or to Thanksgiving, and everybody's like, "Ooh, that looks good. Let me get some of that."
Yes, yes.
We're like, "Look, this is all we have. You got this whole plate of dead carcasses over here. Let us have our vegan food."
And when you put it that way, the dead carcasses.
That's what it
um,
is.
I remember
That's like when you season your greens with animal parts and animal
right.
necks. I was like, when you call it what it is, it sounds a little
Oh my
strange,
goodness. I
right?
hate it. Oh my goodness. Chitlins and hog mogs and all that stuff.
Yeah. It's just
You
crazy.
know.
And some of it is, passed down from, slavery is
Yes.
this is all we were allowed to eat. And so we
Right.
were
Right.
very creative in making the scraps and the garbage taste good. But
Yes.
we have evolved now. We're free. So let's let our diet
Exactly. There's so
reflect
much
that.
information in the food, and the animals are not shot up with all the hormones back then.
That
You
too.
know.
That's why people will say, well, my grandmother ate hog maws and
Oh my goodness. Yes. I hear it all the time.
years and she's doing well. I was like, it's not the same food for
It's not the
starters.
same.
No.
My mother-in-law, who's 90, she want to know why am I living so long. I say, Mom, you live at least 60 years without processed food.
Right. Why are you living so long? What did she
Yeah.
expect? You're supposed to be alive.
I mean, you should be happy, but
Yes.
you, because she see all these people dying from COVID, and she got COVID too, and
Yeah.
she survived. And I said, you live so many years without processed food. Some
Yeah.
people have
You live
processed food.
better. And it's
Yes.
not just long life, it's
Home
better
cooked.
quality of life.
Right.
Because no one really wants to live with sickness and having
Right.
to be on all these medications and breathing machines and wheelchairs and all that. It's great that you can survive, but what we really want is to be 60, 70, 80, 90 on our own 2 feet, still
The
able to drive,
quality.
still able to be independent, still enjoying life, not in a
Exactly.
bed being
Exactly.
fed.
The quality of life.
the quality of life goes up with the
Yes.
plant-based diet.
Yes. So let's talk about some of the courses that you offer on your website. So you have two courses, Surviving Cancer and How to Get Out of the Life You Created. Explain those two
Mhm.
courses.
Sure. So the first one is this alternative approach to surviving cancer, which is the natural approach. So they're
Mhm.
both video courses where I walk you through each step of the way. So it's very easy to take, and then I give you homework after each segment to help you on this natural health healing journey. So it really lays out the supplements, the ideology, and things that you should do to help heal your body.
Mhm.
Um, so that's a really great course, and that's really for people who I can't coach individually because I can't coach everybody, but I do
Right.
coach people with consultations and things like that. But if you can't get with me personally, you can take the course. And then the how to get out of your life how to get out of the life you created
Right.
really came from my own experience of wanting to get out of engineering and into a whole new life. And really, it's also step by step of how to do that, how to switch course and do that successfully. And just really, because we create our reality, the life you're in, if you don't like it, you created it. So you get
Yes.
to create a new life that you really want. And I went from kind of being more, soft spoken and quiet and timid to ask for my needs and wants to, and always wearing kind of usually darker colors, gray, white, black, to kind of
That's
blend
me.
in. So now I wear a
Yeah.
lot of red. It's okay to be seen. I'm
Yeah.
obviously not timid and soft spoken anymore.
Right, right, right.
Still
Not
very
now
kind
because
and nice, but
you're
I'm
going all over
going
the
to
world.
speak up. Yeah.
Yeah, my husband always told me you need to brighten up your wardrobe. I would see
Yes.
something and I said, "Oh,
Yes.
I like that." He said, "You like it because it's black and white."
Yeah. Brighten it up
Yeah,
for sure. I feel
right,
better.
right. I mean, and that's attitude too. It gives you a certain attitude, and people not wanting to be seen. We'll wear
Right.
darker colors.
Right. That is a way of hiding. And that's
Yeah.
what I was doing. And wearing red is the opposite of that.
Oh, exactly. The lady in red.
Hmm.
So that's where that came from. What would be your final thought or advice that you would give someone who may be suffering from cancer or who may be thinking about transitioning to a plant-based diet after hearing this information?
Yeah. Well, I would say number one, give it time because I gave myself like a year to reverse this because by the time cancer pops up, and with symptoms you've probably had it for a long time,
Right.
so sometimes it doesn't turn on a dime. Even though I expected it to, I was like, this should be done in 3 weeks, 3 months for sure, and it wasn't. But I gave myself time, and then I had to, once I got the food part, I had to address the emotional part. And for me, I
Exactly.
knew it meant speaking up, living my truth, doing life how I wanted it, and taking charge. And actually, it meant taking a break because I finally decided to take a vacation after doing all this research, and it was when I was sitting on the beach looking at water that it came to me the supplements I should take and things I should let go. It all just like a download, like
Oh,
this
wow.
is the answer. And
That
it
was the Holy
wasn't until
Spirit.
I was yes, you had to be
God was
quiet
downloading.
enough, content enough, sit still long enough to
Right.
hear this information.
Oh,
And
my
so
goodness.
and that's when I got back and I got a new doctor. I took charge. I was like, I'm doing it my way. I'm going to go back when I'm ready. I started meditating. I started
Hmm.
visualizing cancer leaving my body. I started planning for my future. I start planning a wellness party because you have to see what you want to
Exactly.
achieve what you want. And so all of that just shifted from the first half of recovery to the second half. So I would say if you're dealing with cancer and you're wanting to recover naturally, number one, it's best to work with somebody who's been there or at least has worked with other people who've had
Right.
similar situations because there are many ways to heal. There's 1,000 supplements, and I was trying to take them all at first. It was overwhelming. And you
Right.
really
Right.
don't have to take every single one. You got
Yes.
to focus on a few things, enhancing the immune system, reducing inflammation, fighting cancer, that kind of approach. So I would say work with someone who can help you and take the pressure off so you don't feel like you're missing something. And definitely go ahead and make that shift to a plant-based diet, whether you have cancer or not, because it's going to reduce the chances that you
Yes.
get it. And it's going to help you reverse it if you do. So and then have the attitude that you can win, you can beat this. God has promised us good health and
Yes.
wealth, and that He's already said, I wish for you among other things, that you have this joy and health. And
Yes.
so we can go ahead and claim that and not be like, I don't know, if it's God's will, I'll heal. No, he already says this is will for
Exactly.
you to heal. So claim it and go forward and get the help and know that it's possible.
Awesome.
The
Chess.
veggie chest.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
That's
My cooking
that's a
show.
cooking show. Yes. You have
Yeah, yeah.
20
So I
recipes.
started that. Yeah. So if you're in the DC area, it's on Washington, on the cable network there, or you can watch it online on my YouTube channel. Just type in the Veggie Chest or my name, and
Okay.
it'll come up. And it's just quick cooking segments on how to cook healthy food and how to make it taste good. So it's
Okay.
quick and easy, and it's tried and true. People love my food, which is why I
Well,
started.
I tasted it. And I'm
Yes,
hoping I know you have a delivery service, and I'm hoping you expand it
yes.
to Pennsylvania.
We are planning to expand and
That
start
would be
shipping.
awesome.
In the meantime, if you're in the DC area, you can order it. We deliver every Sunday for that. And so yeah, so in the meantime, you can learn how to make some of those types of recipes from watching the cooking show or getting the recipes, yeah, from
Yes.
my
From your
website.
website. So I have a
Mhm.
website on the bottom of the screen. Go to her website. You will get the recipes. You will read more about her testimony, and you can apply for some of her courses and make the change, the necessary change. So, Dr.
Mhm.
Lathon, I have to thank you so much for your time. Thank you for
Yes,
sharing your wisdom and sharing your testimony. And I pray at least one person will hear this and make a change. And if they do, we complete our assignment for today. Thank
absolutely,
you so,
absolutely.
so much. And I hope you have a
Thank you
blessed
for
day.
having me. Yes.